Hi everyone and welcome back to chapter 14, Truce. Since Paris, Mr. Silver had not been the same. Aside from putting a stop to any lessons, which Daniel missed greatly, Silver treated him well enough. But still there was no denying that something was not quite right. His limp was showing no signs of improvement and his general health seemed to be worsening each day. He looked older somehow, tired and fragile, and at times he would simply sit staring into space while cups of tea grew cold and customers came and went. His production of new wonders had slowed to a halt. Daniel was worried about him and about the Emporium. Silver moved the shop around a lot over the next few weeks, visiting Berlin in the 1930s, London during the coronation of Queen Victoria, and finally the streets of Barcelona just after the Spanish Civil War ended. In each of these places and times, Silver would scour the back streets for magical shops, searching for his elusive treasure, but he would always return empty-handed and a little angry. One morning in Barcelona, Daniel set out to fetch coal for the fire. Upon his return to the shop, he began to tidy in preparation for twilight. He listened to the ticking of the clocks as he worked, humming tunes and tapping on the tables and books. "You should be on a stage with a voice like that." Daniel, who had been polishing the eagle feet of Mr. Silver's desk, sprang up, catching the edge of the table with a thud. Ellie stood by the edge of the velvet curtain, arms folded. Daniel had not seen her since Paris. He knew that she probably really didn't like him. "Where have you been?" he said. "Oh, around," said Ellie. "I've been watching out for you," said Daniel. I've been wanting to say something." "Sorry." Ellie tilted her head a little. "Sorry?" "Aye," said Daniel. "I mean, I can understand if you hate me, some wee boy from Glasgow coming in here and getting a job, working with your dad. But Ellie, I don't really have a clue what I'm doing. I'm sorry I didn't know about you, about how you're stuck in here. I'm just..." "Sorry?" said Ellie. Daniel nodded. "Daniel Holmes," she said, unfolding her arms. "However it might seem sometimes, I promise you that none of this, none of my storming off and throwing strops and getting angry is really about you. Well, not much of it anyway." "It's not?" "No. Look, Papa and me, we don't have a very smooth relationship. I love him to bits, really I do. But I get so angry with him sometimes. It always seems like I'm the least important thing on his list, even if I know that's not really true. And you, well, you were just another distraction." "Oh, I didn't mean to be," said Daniel. "I didn't ask to come here." "Oh, I know," said Ellie. "I know. That's the point, I guess. Neither of us asked to come here, but here we are." "Is it really true you can't leave?" said Daniel. Ellie ran her fingers over the point of her chin. "Yes." "And the customers can't see you?" "No." "Is it like a magic disease or something?" "Oh," Ellie laughed, "it's complicated." "Well, I can see you," said Daniel. "You've got someone else to talk to. I mean, if you want." Ellie stared at him, the corners of her mouth forming the tiniest smile. "You want to see something cool?" Twilight came and went, and the Emporium opened its gates to the public. "What are we doing?" whispered Daniel. They had followed a customer, a man in a flat cap, through the Emporium, keeping out of sight, watching him enter several wonders. And along the way they passed Caleb and Anya, who tagged along, quite delighted to be part of whatever was going on. "You'll see," said Ellie. They reached a quiet passageway where the customer in question entered another wonder. "This'll do," said Ellie. To Daniel she said, "You stay." Then to Caleb and Anya, "You know what to do." Daniel ducked behind a coat of armour just as the man reappeared. He watched Ellie walk towards him. "She's going to bang him," thought Daniel. But Ellie did not bump into him. She walked straight through him, like she was made of mist. The customer shivered, rubbed his hands together, and glanced around the dim corridor. "Is someone there?" he said in a quiet voice. Nobody answered. Ellie ran a little way down the corridor to where another suit of armour was standing and began to push the armour along the ground towards the customer. When he heard the shrieking, scraping noise of the armour on the floor, the man jumped and turned, just in time to see the suit of armour emerging from the shadows. He screamed, twisted round and ran right into Anya, who stood tall, every inch of her covered in undulating, glistening snakes. The man shrieked and span again, just as Caleb lit his torch and blew hard on the flame, making the tongues lick and curl into the shape of a monster. In his panic, the man ran into a wall and then went sprinting away, back towards the hall of stairways. Ellie was laughing so hard she was bent double. "Did you see his face?" said Caleb, tears of laughter streaming down his cheeks. He mimicked the poor customer. "Oh, that was the best one in ages." The laughter was catching, and Daniel was soon slumped on the floor beside the other three. "This is how you pass the time," he said. "Isn't it a bit mean?" "Oh, I don't do it often," she said, "but it usually works if I need a bit of cheering up." She wiped her eyes. "Customers don't remember anything after leaving the shop, do they? So it's perfectly harmless to scare them half to death." Her brain seemed to switch gears. "Hey, we're having a ball for my birthday soon. You'll be invited." Daniel, who had never been invited to a party in his life, opened his mouth to accept, but Ellie was talking again. "Oh, Papa throws the best balls for my birthday. I think it's his way of making up for the fact he's so completely obsessed with the Emporium for the rest of the year. All of the staff will be there," she nodded to Caleb and Anya. "Won't you?" "Oh, of course," said Caleb. "Have we ever missed a ball?" He clapped his hands together. "Oh, I love mixing with people from the real world." He stopped short, remembering that Ellie would be nothing but a ghost to many of her own birthday guests. "Don't worry," she said. "It's nice to have so many people there just for me. They can't see me, of course, but I enjoy watching them, listening to how they talk and hearing their stories from out there." "Where has everyone gone today?" said Daniel. They had been walking back through the Emporium as they talked. There was no sign of customers or staff. The place had fallen silent. "It's too early for closing time." "Something's up," said Ellie. They said goodbye to Caleb and Anya and rushed down staircase after staircase, seeing no one until they were on the ground floor, through the red curtain to the shop front. The closed sign had been hung on the door. Mr. Silver, limping and wheezing, was busying himself at the strange instrument on the wall. He was twisting dials as if his life depended on it, an expression of panic on his handsome face. Ellie leaned close to Daniel and whispered, "He's lost his marbles. It's finally happened." Daniel squinted at Mr. Silver, who was now tossing handfuls of coal haphazardly at the fire. "We're leaving? Very perceptive of you." "Why so sudden? What's happened?" "I've decided I don't like Barcelona." Daniel glanced at Ellie, who gave him her best "I told you so" look. The fire roared, the flames turned red. "I'm supposed to be your assistant," he said. "If something's wrong, maybe I can help." Silver stopped. He turned and fixed Daniel with wild grey eyes. "Nobody can help." Daniel didn't get the chance to ask another question. The fire exploded in a cloud of soot, and by the time the dust had settled, Mr. Silver had disappeared through the curtain. And I will be back next time for chapter 15.